Today I'm going to plant potatoes. Recently, I have been playing around with potatoes, not in a weird and strange kind of way, just to find out how to get basically the best yield from them. The whole thing started with Jane actually putting in, potatoes we had at the bottom of the drawer. So, they looked like this, you shoved them in the ground and voila, we had potatoes. So then we looked into the whole idea how we can make this more efficient. So what it comes down to, when you have a potato like that, that pretty much looks like, I don't know, fuck ugly. You can literally put it in the ground and you grow more potatoes from it. However, there's a couple of things you really should be looking at or you should consider before you put them in the ground. What we found out is the more of these eyes or nips you have on a potato, when you plant it like this, for instance, you would get quite a good yield, but they will be smaller potatoes. If you reduce these nips to 2 per potato, then you tend to get larger potatoes. You may not get quite as many, but you get bigger ones. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So for instance, with this one, as you can see, it has 3 eyes or nips, then it has, a few more growing here. So what we can do with this is we cut it to make sure that we only have 2 of them. So I would cut it right here. There we go. Then there is 1 here and 1 there, but this one is only 2. Now what you have to do, you have to let this scab over. Because if you were planted like this, obviously then fungi and disease will get into the potato and it will just rot. So what you do now, you leave it, it looks like Mickey Mouse. You leave it on a windowsill and you leave this and let this part scab over. It takes a few days, sometimes a week, but once it is scabbed over, then you can plant it. And then this one should produce larger potatoes than this one that has a hell of a lot of these nips. So apparently they're not called nips, they're called, what are they called?
Nibs.
Nibs, not nips. Nips are apparently something else. Anyway, so, you have 2 of these and that's good. So now it comes to planting my potatoes. One thing you have to consider with them, they are very, very greedy bastards, they really are. So they need a shitload of sun and they need an awful lot of feed, they need water, but they can't sit in water because then they would rot. So they're kind of prissy little vegetables. But anyway, so, we get that sorted. However, this is where I'm going to plant them. There you go. This part of the garden gets sun all day. And I planted the eucalyptus yesterday. And I thought this is always a pain in the ass to mow, so perfect for potatoes. So when it comes to potatoes, they really don't like waterlogged soil. So the perfect thing is like a loamy soil. So if you have heavy clay soil, the perfect thing would be just to make a raised bed. And obviously then you can control what kind of soil you have in. I'm lucky enough that I have a good ratio in between sand. I've got quite sandy soil here, so it's a good mix in between soil and sand and ants. I have a lot of ants. Also, they're greedy. They're really, really greedy plants. So what I'm going to do before I'm actually going to dump them in the ground, I'm going to work in some fertilizer, some organic matter as well as organic fertilizer, which will obviously then give them a good kickstart. And then you have to water them. And this is also one of the reasons why I'm planting them next to the eucalyptus, because they also need a shitload of water. So I'm just watering the whole thing, but make sure that they don't sit in water, because then the buggers are going to rot. And that's going to be shit. When it comes to planting depth, I plant them this deep. So this has worked for me. So this is around about 20 centimeters or 9 inches. So this has always been a good depth for me. That's what I do. Rule of thumb. So now that we worked in the fertilizer as well as loosened up the soil, because they like it loose and fluffy, obviously you can also grow them in containers. So if you have a balcony, you can grow them in buckets, you can grow them in cardboard boxes if you line them with plastic. So you can pretty much grow them in absolutely anything as long as you have the depth. And so on your balcony, on your terrace, so there is no reason to throw out the potatoes that have sprouted in your kitchen. You can just dump them in the ground and then, become your own little potato farmer. So yeah, let's dump them in the ground. So here I am on my hands and knees, story of my life. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to plant them, but I'm not going to plant them in a row because I like the randomness of the whole thing. So I'm going to plant them all over the place, 20 centimeters deep or 9 inches and about 15 centimeters apart from each other. Also, what you have to consider, obviously, let me crawl over to you. Make sure that, the nits, whatever they're called. Anyway, these things, the eyes, that they're pointing up. So I would plant like that. You know, let's plant this. Nice loose soil. We worked in the fertilizer, and now just place this one in there, like so. And you kind of get the idea, you know, you just place them and then dig them in. So the potatoes are in the ground, fed, watered. I put altogether about 50, 60 litres of water on them, so to give them a good start. And then, yeah, that's it. Again, you can grow them in any deep container. I mean, in a plant pot or whatever. So you don't need to have a big ass space for it. So go have a look in the kitchen whether you've got a sprouted potato, and then put it in the ground. And that's it for me today. Yes. Anyway, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye.